Gold FM, only the classic hits. This is Speak Your Mind on another episode live on radio. This is delayed coverage on FBC TV, and we do have this show every Tuesday. And today we have the pleasure of having a really nice guest. I know you've seen them a lot in the media, and we do have the acting CEO with us now, and that is of the Fiji Revenue and Customs Authority. Mr. Das, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And we have the CEO also of the Consumer Council, Premila Kumar. A warm welcome to you too.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And yes, a very familiar face, I must say. But we'll start off with Mr. Das. Now, the topic is, of course, what has been already seen in the media, but we need to get the message across to each and every person in Fiji. So it's been seen that some retailers haven't decreased their prices of goods and services after the new VAT rate of 9% from the 1st of January this year. Could you elaborate on this, please, Mr. Das?
Thank you. As the government had intended with the reduction of VAT, what it actually meant was all prices. What it means is actually all prices across the board, all prices that are VAT inclusives, goes down by 6%.
It's a drop of 6%.
It's a drop of 6% all across the board.
Right.
But what we are finding out in conjunction with the Consumer Council and of course Commerce Commission is that what retailers have done, the public at large is aware that prices will be going down. So what the traders have done is they've reduced the prices, and that is not proportionate to the 6% reduction. So, probably some item they've reduced the prices by 50 cents, $1. So it creates an impression that compared to last year, the prices have gone down, but the prices have not gone down proportionately.
Okay, so Mr. Das, could you please give an example when you say not proportionate, like something that we can actually, something more simple that we can work out?
Say for example, you take a product and it's a dollar product, right? The cost of the product is $1. Then you include the 15% VAT, then it should be $1.15. So with the new VAT rate, the price should be $9. So what traders are doing, say for example, they've reduced the $1.15 product to $1.12.
Okay.
So that's where we are saying it should be $9 and not $12.
Yes.
So that's the proportionate decrease has not been passed on to the consumers.
That's right. They're making their money because, every cent counts. There's so many people living in Fiji, and, these people are just trying to make money off the consumer. So that is not good at all, being very dishonest. But anyway, Mr. Das, you mentioned recently that FIRCO will appoint VAT monitors to see that the reduction in VAT is passed on to the consumers. When is this work expected to begin?
Actually, this is already on the ground. Maybe, if I can highlight, we have actually completed 5 investigations. That's all ready for imposition of the fines. And we have another 15 cases in progress. And I already have my team of auditors and inspectors, going around the streets and doing the surveillance work. And, because it's a legal process, we need to get the papers in order for that infringement, fine to be imposed. So yes. I must assure you that my people are out there. You may not know, but they are out there.
Okay, so how will the VAT monitors do their job of catching these dishonest traders? Like they go into all the different shops and...
Yes, actually what we do is, we are testing transactions. So, we go, pick up the product, we may even purchase it to collect evidence on receipt. You got to have black and white evidence for these cases.
Very important.
Yes,
yes,
exactly.
And I know that Premila has been stressing this point, haven't you?
I have been. Actually, I've been stressing this point from last year. As soon as the budget announcement was made, I've been asking the public to keep their old receipts, because this is the time you can compare your old prices with the new prices to see whether the retailers have actually reduced the price of the product or not.
Yeah, so very important, keep your receipts, hold on to them, don't throw them away. But anyway, Mr. Das, again, now you've said that in the past it's been seen that traders did not pass duty reduction to consumers. Now, what happened then to the traders that didn't pass the duty reductions to the consumers?
In those instances, whichever cases we came across, we have had audit process. We do have audit process, and similarly for customs, we consider it offences under customs laws, and there is penalties imposed. So on case by case, we have dealt with cases like that.
Yes.
But definitely in the 2016 budget announcement, the government had a very clear intention, and really I would say that you can see that this time around the government has seriously taken steps towards it. We've got a written law that if these reductions are not passed on, and these penalties of up to $50,000, or on conviction by the court up to $100,000 and 10 years imprisonment.
Okay, so Premila, do you have anything to say?
Definitely. I think the difference this time is that FERCA is not working alone. They are working with Consumer Council and Fiji Commerce Commission. And Consumer Council represents consumers.
Yes.
And therefore, if a complaint comes to the council, we will not just sit back and think that somebody else is going to look into it, but we will investigate that immediately and bring it to the attention of FERCA.
Okay.
Because they are the regulators, they are the enforcement agencies.
Yes.
And we have got our own working mechanism worked out, which is when we lodge a complaint to FERCA, they will do the investigation, and finally they will report to the council so that we can then inform the complainant
Okay.
and close the case. So we have got a very well-structured system in place as compared to the past.
Yeah, I can
So
see
that's
that.
the difference.
Right, because it's a price surveillance task force. You call in the three of you getting together, but that is really good. Okay, so which traders have been brought to your attention, Mr. Das?
We have come across, and of course, the referrals from Consumer Council and Commerce Commission. We have grocery stores and mobile phone providers, hardware stores, and I think, more so, you look at it, it's the day to, some things that affect the day-to-day lives of the ordinary Fijians.
Yes.
Maybe, bakery stores and all that, So,
I mean, goodness me, pinching off the consumer like that. I mean, that's just not on. So I'm really happy that you three have got together to catch these people.
Actually, this has been going on for far too long, because every year after the budget announcement, the good intention of the government was never realized. And the intentions were sometimes to reduce the duty of certain products so that at the retail level, the prices will be reflected in terms of less amount. But as consumers, even though the duty announcements were made or duty reduction announcements were made, we were overjoyed. But at the end of the day, no one saw any difference in price. So that has been the case all this while. And it is very disappointing that some of these traders, they have been getting away with it, and they're repeat offenders, because previously probably the penalties were, of course, not the way it's written now, and they could get away with it.
Yeah.
But FERCA is doing its job. We are doing our job. And my job is clear-cut, which is to protect the interest of consumers. And that's why we do not hesitate naming and shaming the traders, which we have done. And we will continue doing that, because we just want to say that there are some traders who are cheats and frauds in the marketplace.
Yes.
Because if there is a hardcore evidence is right there, then why should we not talk about it? Why should we just say that, a trader or a retailer when we know who that trader or retailer is?
That's right. Well, thank you very much. We'll be back in a short while with this very interesting topic on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Speak your mind. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on your only classic hits radio station in Fiji, Gold FM, only the classic hits. We continue with our very important talkback today, and this is with, of course, the acting CEO of the Fiji Revenue Customs Authority, Mr. Das, and also the CEO of the Consumer Council, Premila Kumar. Now, we shall continue with this very interesting topic, and this is such a great way, don't you think, of just educating the people to know how to help the price surveillance task, I'm sure.
Absolutely. We have been counting a lot on consumers to come forward with the receipts and with their complaints. Because really, if you look at the three organizations that are involved in VAT monitoring, we don't have that many number of staff as compared to millions of products that are sold in each individual stores, plus the number of shops that are around Fiji.
Yes.
So we are counting a lot, not only on consumers. In fact, I'm also counting on businesses to come forward. If they feel that another business who is a competitor is not passing down the VAT as compared to that particular business that is acting ethically and has been passing down the VAT.
Yes.
So I would encourage businesses to come forward as well.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, the gains will be for consumers, also for businesses that are based on ethics.
Right. Now, the Fiji Taxi Association General Secretary Rishi Ram has argued that taxi fares do not have a VAT inclusive fare. So maybe we'll ask Mr. Dutt. With the new 9% VAT rate in effect, the Consumer Council has mentioned that there should also be a drop in taxi fare. You might like to clarify that, please, Mr. Das.
Thank you. Yeah, with regards to VAT on taxi fares, actually there is two categories of taxi fares, because for VAT registration you require a annual gross turnover of 100,000. So there may be just simply one taxi owners, so their fares are not VAT inclusive.
I see.
So, but there are, companies, taxi companies, definitely their fares are VIP. So when we look at the VAT reduction, then these taxi fares will have to reduce.
Right.
And, we don't expect the date because they are not registered for VAT. Therefore, their taxi fares will, it was always lower anyway,
Okay.
exclusive of VAT. So this is, we have been trying to liaise with LTA as well, that, that is their aspect of, because the taxi fares are regulated by them. So that's, but with regards to VAT, all the VIP taxi fares have to be adjusted.
Right. So I'm sure, Premila, you might like to add on to that.
Oh, absolutely, and I agree with Mr. Das. We are aware that there are two types of fares, and there are consumers who were paying VIP taxi fares in the past. And in the past, they were complaining that they should be given a receipt when they are paying their VIP prices, as well as they also wanted the VIP taxis to clearly state that they'll be charging VAT. So we know that, and I'm surprised that the General Secretary doesn't know this. So there are two types of fares, crystal clear. We are expecting the VAT to come down on all goods and services.
Right across the board.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, is it true that Firica will this year install a system that will connect to all supermarkets?
Absolutely true. We are work in progress is already in that. You must have seen in the newspapers, we tendered. And last week, Friday, the tenders closed for that. So at the moment, we are evaluating the tenders. And in effect, we are targeting, as soon as possible, the selected provider can move in. And in a targeted way, we will start installing these devices, which will actually be connected right with the point of sale or the cash registers. And this is how the system we intend to have in place is, at the point of sale, these sales information is actually directly remitted to the tax office. So at any point in time, say for example, if businesses, traders decide to unplug the connection, then they will not be able to use their point of sale.
Oh, that's great, because I remember I went shopping, I think it was 2 weeks ago or last week, and I noticed that the prices, they had a notice up and said that the prices are different on the shelf, but it would have been in their system. So like if we went to the cashier, it would have been recorded there as a proper price.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so
And I think we, very realistically, we do understand that, maybe, changing the tag price for all the items on the shelf is not, possible in a short time. That's where we said, you could stick big notices on the shelves, but, point of sales, the computerized systems, they need to be updated. And that was part of the responsibility of the traders to get it done, over the holiday season or whatever, so that effective 1st Jan, the prices are there. I'll take an example. We found one, I think, basically you can say, you look at the two dailies. I think one of them, had changed the prices to 95 cents, and the other on the first day of January actually still ran the price of $1. But effectively, the newspaper was being sold as at 95 cents. So we could understand there was an oversight in the printing, but actual. So that's where we are expecting the traders to change the prices actually when it comes to giving it to the consumers.
Okay, so Pramila Kumar, you might like to say something about this.
Yes, definitely. I would like to say that we do understand that traders have to change a large number of products, but that should not be used as an excuse. I think today it's the 12th day of January,
Exactly.
and we do not wish to see any more papers telling consumers that we have just changed the prices at the point of sale and they did not have enough time to change the products. We would like to see that everything should be in order now, because ample time is given. And I find this very strange, because when the prices go up, for example, when we had devaluation in the country, not a single trader came up saying that, we're having a problem. We cannot change the prices. Overnight, the prices were all changed. But where the gains are for consumers, they really don't have the time. They have staff problem and name it. They'll come up with all kinds of excuses, which is unacceptable, because public, they're seeing what's happening in the marketplace.
I mean,
You
that's
know?
so true. It really makes me laugh. Like you said, when there's an increase, things are slow. But when there's, like what you've said, very fast. But,
I think,
yeah.
if I can add, on the same note, I think it's good for the public to know, and as well as the traders to know. I think, even those who may have changed prices now, but under the law, they have still committed an offense. So that will still remain punishable. So,
Right.
what I mean to say is, from the 1st of Jan to date, we have cases where prices were not changed, but, maybe tomorrow I walk into the shop and the prices have changed. But the act of offense has already been committed, and that is subject to fine.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Das. So we're going to end very soon. But what is your message to the consumer?
I think, I would simply like to request the consumers that compliance to the law is not the function of the enforcement agencies alone. It's a partnership. I think here we can see the good intent of the government to make better the lives of ordinary Fijians. We have been entrusted with the responsibility to ensure that this is being done and the benefits are being passed to the consumers. And we also seek the cooperation of the consumers that you need to bring to our attention these incidences.
That's right. And to the trader and service providers?
And to the traders and service providers, I would say, I think the government is not being reasonable. The government is facilitating their business. It's just an expectation that you need to comply to the law. And at the end of the day, if you really look at it, VAT is trader neutral. Businesses, it's not a cost to them. Therefore, they really need to pass it to the final consumer.
Vinaka Vakalevu, Mr. Das, for joining us, the acting CEO of the Fiji Revenue Customs and Authority. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Vinaka.
We head into a short break. We'll be back on Speak Your Mind shortly. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on your only classic hits radio station, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Well, we now have the pleasure of the company of the CEO of the Commerce Commission. This is Mr. Bobby Maharaj. Thank you so much for being on Speak Your Mind today.
Thank you very much.
Very nice to have you here. Well, we shall go straight into it, I suppose. And has the Commerce Commission received any complaints about prices being too high on goods even after the reduction brought about?
Yes, the Commission has been receiving complaints from 1st January. The complaints range from allegations that traders have not reduced the prices to reflect the new VAT rates. Also, certain complaints have been received that the prices has gone up rather than coming down. So those are the type of complaints that we have received from 1st January.
I see. So when they complain about these sorts of things, what is your response like?
Generally, once we receive a complaint, we deploy our staff to that particular trader's premises to carry out inspections and also to take the statement from the director or the directors or the manager, whoever is available, to seek confirmation on whether the prices have been reduced or not. And then we do an assessment, and if in case it is discovered that the prices has not been reduced, we flag the matter to FRCA, or if in case they had made a representation that the prices have been reduced, and our investigation shows that the prices have not been adjusted, then we also investigate that under Section 77 of the Commerce Commission Decree 2010, which is on false and misleading representation to the members of the public.
Okay. Now, Mr. Maharaj, are all price-controlled items VAT inclusive?
Yes, from 1st January 2016, all items, whether it's the price control or non-price control items, attract a VAT rate 9%.
Okay, so I mean, it's so good with internet. We can just go onto your website and even print out ourselves a copy of the prices, which are price-controlled items. So, you just go to Commerce Commission. That's easy enough, www.commercecommission. That's what I've done myself. I even printed it all out. Now, just one thing. How is an urban area identified? Because sometimes we have these small canteens, like maybe, for example, Vaumbati or, along the Suvarnasari corridor, and they put these price-controlled items a bit higher. Is that allowed?
Generally, let's say in terms of demarcation between urban and rural areas, we get this information from the municipal councils because they operate within a town boundary or a city boundary. So any traders that falls within the ambit of a town or a city boundary, they are deemed to be a urban trader. And those that fall outside the urban boundaries are deemed to be rural traders or the maritime zone traders.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that. Premila?
I think he's given the clarification.
Right.
But in terms of small canteens charging higher prices, I think Bobby would be in a better position to explain that, since he looks after all price-controlled items.
Okay.
But before I ask Bobby to speak, one thing I would like to express my gratitude here, that with all this VAT reduction not being passed on to consumers, I'm glad that at least with price-controlled item, the traders cannot play around with the VAT, because that is determined, the price is determined by Fiji Commerce Commission.
That's correct.
It is only the non-price controlled items, this is where we are seeing a lot of problems.
Okay. So, Mr. Maharaj, any product that contains wheat should be cheaper this year. Is that right?
The price of wheat products has decreased by about 5%. But then to review the prices, let's say for breakfast crackers, we have also adjusted the prices to reflect the new VAT rate. We cannot say that all the wheat products should expect prices because of the fall in the wheat prices, because there may be other input costs that may have gone up. So when we receive the submissions, we'll have to look at all the factor input costs. Let's say wheat is just one of the raw materials. Then let's say the whale, the other ingredients are also essential to analyze.
I see. So is a large bread too? I noticed I went and bought a large wholemeal sliced, but that wasn't in the price control. Only it was the medium.
Medium.
Yeah.
For the bread market, the only three products that are subject to price regulation are medium white slice, medium wholemeal, and long loaf. These are the only three products that are under price control.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Maharaj. Now, how will you work with the Fiji Revenue Customs Authority?
There is, let's say, a procedure that has been laid out. Basically, let's say we either receive complaints directly or we may receive referrals from Consumer Council of Fiji. Upon investigations, we flag it to FRCA if in case it's to do with the VAT Decree 1992 or the amendments thereafter. And once an offence under the Commerce Commission Decree 2010 is established, then we take that as our own legislation and our own enforcement mechanism. So we do correspond with FRC on a daily basis, flagging them with the issues raised, getting their feedback, and as well as, let's say, assisting them in terms of the field work.
Okay, that's great. So also for bill of landing for goods also arriving into the country to determine the cost of landing and the markups, I'm sure.
Surely.
Okay. All right. So how will this information be passed on to the consumer? Like the information of, how you have to get the landing for goods arriving into the country and all that. Like for the consumer to be aware of.
Actually,
Yes.
it is extremely difficult for a consumer to know each and every detail of how the
Okay.
product has landed on the shelf.
Okay.
But that is for the Commerce Commission and FERCA to check when they receive complaints. For example, when consumers say that the VAT has not been passed on, or even any other complaints in terms of pricing.
Okay.
But from the consumer perspective, I would say that we do rely a lot on the enforcement agencies so that they are checking and doing the right thing in the marketplace.
Yes.
And therefore consumers can shop around with confidence that the product has been checked and what they're paying is the right price.
Okay. Well, anyway, we'll have to head into a short break. And if you have any questions to ask, you're listening. This is live on radio. You can call 3220-907, or if you have a Digicel phone, 7732907. Now, this is Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. We will be back in a moment. Gold FM, only the classic hits. This is Speak Your Mind, and live on radio, and we have the delayed coverage shown on FBC TV. But I think I've got a caller on the line. Let's just see who it is. Gold FM. Is this someone who wants to ask a question on Speak Your Mind? Hello? This is Gold FM, Speak Your Mind. Do you have a question for our guest in the studio? Well, obviously not. But anyway, we shall continue with what we've been talking about. We haven't finished about differentiating the prices of the rural and urban areas. Mr. Maharaj, you might like to explain in depth.
Yes, when you look at the pricing methodology, the rural prices are always higher than the urban prices. Because of the difference in transportation cost. Let's say the urban prices are mostly determined by the nearest port of entry. So what we do is the prices are benchmarked against Suva and Lautoka prices because this is where the two ports are located. Then let's say if you move to a rural area, let's say Viti Levu rural, prices generally would be about 5% higher than the urban prices. And when you hit, let's say, the town of Lambasa, South Savu, the prices are about 8% higher because of the shipping cost from Viti Levu to Vanua Levu. And let's say Vanua Levu rural is about 10% higher, and the maritime zones are about 13% higher. Now also, let's say within the urban boundaries, some of the small canteens may have prices which are higher than what we may have authorized, because a lot of these small canteens and small traders, what they do is they buy these goods at the retail prices from the supermarkets. So they will go and buy that, let's say, from the shelf. And then let's say if they are buying breakfast crackers from, let's say, supermarket A, they're buying at the retail price. And what they're allowed to do is take this product and add the markups which are legislated. So if in case the markup is 10%, and if they are buying at a retail price, then the price in the canteens would be 10% higher than what the urban bigger traders may have.
Thank you, Mr. Maharaj. I think I've got a call on the line again, and I hope that he responds this time. But this is Gold FM. Speak your mind. Do you have a question for our guests? Oh dear. Well, anyway, we shall continue. Maybe we'll ask Premila Kumar of the Consumer Council of what you have been doing and what you have been finding out about what's been happening in the regards to dropping the VAT.
Well, first of all, we have been not only conducting market surveillance, but also attending to the complaints that are lodged by the consumers. And there's a large number of consumers who've been making calls to the council. They're not only just lodging complaints, but also seeking clarification, because they feel that some of the prices have not come down. And this is to do with not just grocery stores or drapery stores or hardware, but it's also to do with eating places like restaurants and coffee shops. The prices have gone up. They're complaining about that. And so we have to go out and not only just check to ensure that they're charging the right price, and for that we normally communicate with Fiji Commerce Commission as well as with FERCA,
Yes.
but also to clarify the matter to the public, because sometimes they're saying, for a particular restaurant the prices have gone up, and yeah, of course the prices will go up, and there's a reason for it, and the reason was that the service turnover tax went up by 5%, so that's why the prices have gone up. But that doesn't mean just because the service turnover tax has gone up, each and every restaurant should start increasing their price.
Right.
Because it is only applicable to those restaurants and coffee shops and bistros that are registered with FERCA for STT.
I mean, there's a lot to know. I mean, you have to be educated to know all this. But I think I've got another call on the line, and hopefully we can have some conversation. But hello, Gold FM. This is Speak Your Mind. How may I help you?
Hey, I just want to know if this VAT reduction thing applies to shops like Hoptai, agricultural stuff, and plastic containers for pot plants.
Okay. Could you please repeat the question? Sorry, madam.
I want to know if this VAT reduction thing applies to shops like Hoptai, agricultural stuff and plastic containers for pot plants and things like that.
Generally, if they are VAT registered and they had been charging VAT, then definitely the prices should be reduced to reflect the new VAT rate.
Yeah, because I bought some stuff from there the other day and didn't seem to me that the prices were reduced.
Madam, we have taken note of your
they should,
concern.
check them out.
Deploy our team to investigate that, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bless you.
Thank you for calling. Now, that's great to have a listener with an input. You can call 3220-907. If you have a Digicel phone, it's 77-32907. Now, it's can be mind-boggling to be able to know exactly everything. So, Premila Kumar, that's why you are here to explain to the consumer, and also Mr. Bobby Maharaj, just to make it a lot easier for them to know what is going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, in terms of restaurants and coffee shops and bistros, as I have mentioned earlier on, we only expect the prices to go up for those restaurants, bistros, and coffee shops that are registered for STT. But those restaurant, bistros, and coffee shops that are registered for VAT, we expect the price to come down.
I see.
That's how we're going to work it out.
Okay.
So that's one area of complaints that we were receiving. But another area of complaints where some of these consumers calling to the office, they've become very abusive when it comes to cigarette and alcohol price.
Oh.
We have been receiving large number of complaints in relation to cigarettes and alcohol from the day the budget announcement was made. And even this morning, there were a number of calls in regards to cigarette price.
Yeah.
And we have made it very clear that with cigarette price, it is determined by British American Tobacco Company, and they had already factored the VAT reduction, because when you look at the cigarette price come last November when the budget was announced, it was made very clear that excise duty went up by 12.5%, Then health levy was introduced, which was 6%, and then VAT reduced by 6%. So when you compare health levy with VAT, in fact, that price, we can say that VAT reduction did offset the health levy. But we are left with 12.5% increase in excise duty. So what BAT did, they made the adjustment in November, immediately after the budget announcement, and they did bear the cost of VAT reduction. So they adjusted the VAT in November. So now that the consumers they have been buying the cigarettes, they feel that, okay, it's now January, why the prices have not come down? But they
Right.
had already made the adjustment in November.
Well, thank you very much for that, Pramila. We've got another caller on the line. Gold FM, only the classic hits. Can you please call back? We need to head into a break. But yes, hello. Okay, just quickly ask your question.
Hello.
Hello, ask a question. Gold FM, this is Speak Your Mind.
Okay, just one quick one. There's, I've got a house being built, and the quote and etc. was drawn up last year. And the last stage we finished in February. Should there be a saving in goods and services provided by this particular construction company for me by 6%?
We do not know the exact particulars about the construction company that you have engaged, because if that particular construction company is VAT registered, and if it was labor and material contract both, then definitely the construction company would be saving a bit of money on the material cost. And
Yes,
perhaps
yes.
there is a possibility that you might expect some reduction, but then we need to understand whether it was a VAT registered trader or not.
He is a registered company, and he's refusing to comply with the new VAT rate. What can I do?
He says that the company is registered. So what can he do, Mr. Maharaj?
What we are requesting you to do is maybe send us the details about this trader and your contact details so that we can contact you, get full details, and then look into the matter.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you very much.
Vinaka Vakalevu on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Speak Your Mind. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Gold FM, only the classic hits. It is your only classic hits radio station in Fiji, and we have the pleasure of the company of the CEO of the Commerce Commission, that's Bobby Maharaj, and also the CEO of the Consumer Council. Now, if you've got any question, you can call 3220-907, or if you have a Digicel phone, 7732907. Now, Mr. Maharaj, what is your advice to the people of Fiji?
Generally, what we can advise the traders and the consumers both is, let's say, if it's the consumers, please, when you're buying the goods and services, let's say from January 1st, keep an eye on the prices that you are being charged. Keep the documents with you. Even if you do not have the documents from the last years, if you can, let's say, either take the photograph of the receipts, put it on our Facebook, or email us so that we can start collecting this data in terms of what the current prices are. Who knows, maybe if they are sending us the receipts for this year, somebody might send us a receipt for last year. It'll be pretty easy for us to compare and see if in case there is a reduction in prices for goods and services as a result of reduction in the VAT rate. So we are expecting, or let's say depending a lot on the consumers for their feedback, because they are the ones who would be out shopping and they would know what they were paying last year and what they are paying now.
Vinaka Vakalevu, Mr. Maharaj, that is great advice. Now, Pramila, now all the complaints that you've received so far, Now, where did the complaints and evidences mostly come from, and which service providers have you handed over to FIRCA?
Well, we have been receiving complaints from all sectors, supermarkets, drapery stores, because recently there was a duty reduction on undergarments, children's clothes, which has not been passed on. So people are calling us in regards to that. We have also been receiving complaints against mobile companies for not passing down the VAT. We have been receiving complaints from liquor stores. They have not been passing down the VAT. We have also received queries from the public in terms of government services and whether the cost of the passport has come down, from the traders as well in terms of biosecurity fees, port fees and charges, FIRCA fees and charges. So there are a large number of complaints and queries we have been receiving. But in terms of our analysis and really finding problems with some traders, I can say Bread Shop was one, Hot Bread Kitchen.
Yeah, we read about that.
We've also found problems with Vodafone and Inc. For not reducing the price of their products. We have got complaints against Denny's Seafood Company in the West. We've got complaints against another company called in the West as well that sells toner. I just slipped out of my mind.
Okay.
But that's another company that we have. Then we have got complaints against few restaurants, but we have come across receipts that were issued to the consumers which said 15%. One was Glory's Gin. So that's the coffee shop that has been issuing receipts which said 15%. So we have to forward that to FIRCA.
Yes.
And there's another store in Victoria Parade where a consumer had forwarded that complaint to us. They went and bought a product and they found that the receipts and the price they were charging was still 15%. So when my team went out and tried to investigate that further, they were told that my boss is out of the country and therefore we cannot make any changes and we don't even know about 15%.
Oh dear.
So that's what's happening in the marketplace.
But Pramila, I think it's really good that you're getting so many complaints. It shows now that the consumer being more aware of their rights.
I think so, because when you talk about VAT, VAT is between consumers and the government. It has nothing to do with the traders. Traders are just the facilitator for the collection. So if the government has announced that they're going to collect less from the public, who are the traders to pocket that money?
Exactly.
It should be reflected so that the consumers pay less. So it's really a matter between government and consumers, and traders are supposed to be doing the right thing. But the problem here, what we have, is that traders are trying to make more money, trying to increase their profit. Consumers are the losers. Government is a loser.
That's exactly right.
So we are losing out, but the one that gains is the trader because they're being unethical. They simply do not wish to part away with the VAT. They want to increase their profit margin, and that's what's been happening.
It's just being greedy. It's a give and take
So
situation.
from the council's perspective, and I'm sure the other two agencies that we are working with, we are all very determined about this particular issue. And we have been having regular discussions, on a daily basis. We try and exchange notes on certain traders so that we are on the same page.
Okay.
So, we are very determined in this particular case to charge few traders and to make the public aware that they should not be actually buying goods and services. They should not buy goods and services from such traders who are unethical in the marketplace.
Thank you so much, Pramila Kumar. I wish I could go on a bit longer, but unfortunately, we've reached our time. But I'm sure that you've done a great job of educating every person in Fiji today. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was this week's episode on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Thank you so much. You can watch the delayed coverage on FBC TV. That's tonight and also tomorrow morning. But till next time, Mo demanda.